back to Tandem Fandom. I'm Mick.
I'm Courtney.
And we are picking up with the final episode of our top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time.
What a wild ride it's been, and here we come wrapping it up, pulling into the station. We're going home, guys.
We're going home, guys. But to give everybody a little bit of a recap of where we've been, let's kind of do a rundown. At number 10, I had the Olympic gold medalist. It's true, Kurt Angle.
And I had the ravishing, real sexy man, Rick Rude.
I had a hardcore legend, the hardcore legend, bang bang, Mick Foley.
And I had the bizarre one, straight from Hollywood, Gold Dust.
I had at number 8 the straight edge savior, CM Punk.
And I had the son of a plumber, Dusty Rhodes.
At number 7, I had the man who gives us the gift of Jericho every week. Drink it in, man. Y2J, Chris Jericho.
And I had the man who gave us the gift of beer every week. Give me a beer. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
At number 6, I had the demon of Bray, County Wicklow, Ireland, Finn Balor.
And I had the legit boss, Sasha Banks.
At number 5, we both had the phenom of Death Valley, The Undertaker.
It never gets old.
At number 4, I had who many would call the GOAT, Daniel Bryan. Yes, yes, yes!
And I had the showstopper, Dolph Ziggler.
At number 3, I had my favorite active wrestler in the business today, the cleaner, Kenny Omega.
And I had one of my first loves in this new generation, the legend killer, the Viper, Randy Orton. Drink it in, man.
At number 2, I had the rated R superstar, Edge.
And at number 2, I had the Prince, the dashing, the undashing, the mustaching, the cosmic king, Cody Rhodes.
Without further ado, we begin our final journey into our number 1 wrestlers of all time. But before we do, we did want to make sure that we gave some honorable mentions to those that didn't find a place currently on our top 10, but there's someone we felt it was important to, show them a little love.
Show them a little love. Legends like Shawn Michaels, Diamond Dallas Page, Triple H, The Rock, William Regal, Hulk Hogan, Nash, Scott Hall, Eddie Guerrero.
Of course, you've got all these wonderful legends. There are, who we're considering future legends, people that have a really high place in our heart, like the Young Bucks, Bayley, John Cena, Zack Ryder, The Miz, Kota Ibushi, Cesaro, the man that gravity forgot, Neville, Seth Rollins, and of course, one of my favorite guys to watch on Raw every single week, a former Intercontinental Champion, a prize fighter, Kevin Owens. I never get tired of doing that, but
I was kind of edging on Rick here. A little too much, or?
I don't know, I'm just yeah. I'm starting to feel a little
Oh no! Oh no! Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like he's come down with some sort of madness.
Oh yeah, the macho madness is infecting me here today on YouTube. Yeah! That's right, I have come to talk about my number 1 wrestler in the history of this business here, and that is the Macho Man Randy Savage. He is the Lord and Master of the Ring. Yeah!
That's hard to argue with. He's doing... Oh no, the madness is getting worse. He's doing a 180.
180!
Oh god, he's going back around for a 360.
360! The cream always rises to the top, YouTube. Yeah!
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop! What can you say about the Macho Man that hasn't been said?
By himself.
Precisely. Macho Man Randy Savage is one of the first memories I have of professional wrestling. Seeing this over-the-top, colorful character, you know, the tassels and the sunglasses, the voice, the intensity that the Macho Man brought. Yeah. You know, the promo, his ring work was really spectacular and really ahead of his time. If you look at Macho, he was never the biggest guy.
Right.
And this was during the land of giants.
Yeah.
You either had to be like 265 pounds, jacked up, shredded to the bone, or you had to be, you know, over 6'4", 6'5".
Right, you're either the Steiners or the Big Show.
Yeah, and he wasn't. But he was able to last because he had this charisma and this energy and just this presence about him. You know, I was talking with someone the other day about Macho, and they had no idea that he was, you know, 6'1", 6'2". He was, I thought he was like 6'5". It's because his presence, the way he carried himself, the way he presented himself, both in the ring, in promos and interviews, everything, he was larger than life.
He acted like he was 7 foot tall.
He had to, because he understood that I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the strongest guy, but I can be different. I can, you know, kind of step out of the mold of what we've seen. And, you know, a lot of people when they were younger tend to kind of gravitate more towards Hulk Hogan. He's the living superhero, over the top.
Straight out of a comic book.
but for me, Macho was someone who captivated me more because I don't know if it was, you know, the look or his ring work or just a combination of everything. Just he captivated you. You know, he's a guy that he could have been this most vicious, evil heel, and he was still getting cheered. Nobody at one point it was near impossible for Macho Man to be a bad guy because people loved him so much. And I think it's because he had a level of respect and dedication to, you know, putting forth the best product that he possibly could, both in his appearance and the way he carried himself and his in-ring work. His match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship was, it's still, to this day, it's one of the best matches I've ever seen because he understood the importance and the care that it took to, you know, break down every moment and every piece of that match and list everything out. You know, we're going to start with a lockup, then we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. You know, scripting out everything. Everything was, you know, planned and...
He was a notorious perfectionist.
Yeah, it was so precise and so powerful. You know, I always look at Macho and Ric Flair, more than likely, very arguable, the greatest professional wrestler of all time. But I think the Macho Man Randy Savage is easily a top 3. Because he was doing things in a time where you didn't see guys really go up to the top rope. Yeah. You didn't see these, you know, athletic guys that could move around the ring. I mean, this is the era of, you know, if you took a bump, write it down. Like, it's... You know, so he did that, and then when he transitioned to WCW, I thought he even did, you know, some better work than he did in the WWF, because he got to shine on a different stage and just try different things and do different things by just being the Macho Man, because he was an entity at that point, you know? He didn't really have to try and do anything special. He could just be, and it was incredible. I mean, him turning on his back on WCW when he allied with the NWO by attacking Roddy Piper, you know, it was crazy to see, you know, the Macho Madness invading the NWO, you know, and just the sort of things that he was able to do. And then later in his career, even when he completely changed his look, you know, he dropped a lot of the colors, and he wore like the mesh shirt with the silver macho across it. He had the sunglasses, the hair slicked back, his girlfriend, gorgeous Georgian Team Madness, you know, and that was a point where a lot of people could really say, like, well, nah, this is done. Nobody's gonna want to see the colorful Macho Man, like, nobody's gonna see that. And it's like he understood that, so he said, well, okay, what can I do to evolve? What can I do to change? How can I still be relevant?
Right. How can I keep up with this ever-evolving business?
Yeah, and that's something that I think he always seemed to do really, really well, is whether it be the way he looked, the way he delivered a promo, the way he moved, anything and everything, he was constantly thinking and constantly, how can I improve? How can I be better than I was? You know, he played baseball before he got into wrestling. That was kind of his first love, was he was a ball player. And it's the work ethic that so many people talk about, because, you know, he wasn't necessarily the best hitter, he wasn't the best guy to field the ball, but he constantly worked, how can I get better? How can I improve? What can I do? And when his baseball career ended, that was it. He didn't watch baseball anymore, he didn't do anything with baseball. It was 100% his life, and that's what he did with pro wrestling. When he came to wrestling, nothing else mattered. Pro wrestling. That was the thing. I mean, you look at the Macho Man, and he's responsible for so many big moments, you know, with like I said, the WrestleMania match with Ricky Steamboat, the marriage to Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so, like, that's such an iconic moment. His feud with Jake Roberts, where the snake bites him on the arm, you know, just the dropping of the ring bell onto the throat of Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat, and Ricky's having to, like, re-teach himself how to talk, and... his matches with Ric Flair, of course, you know, the forming of the Mega Powers, you know, with him and Hogan, you know, his feud with Hogan, the Ultimate Maniacs with the Ultimate Warrior, you know, just so many things that Macho did. The man is, in a lot of ways, he is what helped pull me in as a pro wrestling fan. I mean, we mentioned Ric Flair. Ric Flair will always be the definition of pro wrestling to me, because it's Ric Flair, it's the Nature Boy. But Macho represents, in my opinion, the total package of what it means to be a professional wrestler. Because he's one of the first guys that truly had everything. He had the look, he had the talk, he had the work, he had the just persona, the charisma. Yeah, he set the stages for guys that we see in, like, Shawn Michaels. I really believe that. I think if you look at Shawn Michaels, you see a lot of the Macho Man in Shawn, in that he steals the show. You know, yes, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, they got all the people to come in with the tickets. Yeah. But it was Macho and Ricky Steamboat that stole the show, and that's something that Shawn Michaels is famous for doing, is, you know, at one point he wasn't necessarily the draw, but he would go out there and have the best damn match on that card, and there was nothing you could do about it. Yeah. And the Macho Man did that himself. It felt really good to finally see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know, there was a lot of bad blood and, you know, personal point of contention on Macho's part, where he wanted his whole family to be inducted.
Yeah, the Papos.
Yeah, the WWE didn't necessarily see it that way. They wanted to induct him. You know, unfortunately, Macho died, you know, due to heart issues that he was unaware that he had. You know, so that was really unfortunate, but it made me feel really good to see him finally go into the Hall of Fame, so that an entire, you know, generation of fans can really see and appreciate the man who was infected with the Macho Madness, the Macho King, you know, the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. Yeah, Lord and Master of the Ring. Yeah, yeah. So it was really cool, and, you know, I will admit, I cried when the Macho Man was inducted, because, you know, I was very upset, and I cried when he passed, you know, because it's just one of those things that I guess you start realizing that
they're not immortal. Yeah,
and that you're getting older and things are changing, and, you know, remembering back of watching, you know, WCW and WWF with my, you know, grandfather and my brother, and watching this Macho Man, and my grandfather does, like, a perfect Macho Man impression. You know, watching with them and seeing him, and just all these great memories, to finally see him where he belonged in the Hall of Fame was a powerful moment. You know, it sucks because he's not with us any longer, you know, and I would have liked to have heard because he was such a great speaker
Yeah.
and always stole the show with his words, with his performances. So I would have enjoyed to see what, the Macho Man would have said to that whole audience. And I really wonder, what sort of contributions would he have been able to give to younger wrestlers? Because that's something he did through his career, especially his later career in WCW, by understanding who he was and deciding to take, he's working with Diamond Dallas Page, and, they're lacing up their boots in the back. It was I believe it was a house show. And, Arn Anderson comes into the back. He was the kind of booker or the agent for the match or whatever, and he's looking at DDP, and he looks at Randy, and he's like, "Well, Randy, what's the finish tonight?" "Well, I think I'd like to take the diamond cutter tonight." And at that moment, DDP realized, like, whoa. Because that's a big, at that point, that's big. It's a real big deal. And Arn, "Well, Diamond, you understand how big this is." That's more Jimmy Hart than Arn Anderson.
I was going to say, or Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, Arn, I get it." So, they go out, and Macho, he hits him with the diamond cutter, and they're lying there before, Dallas covers them, and he's like, "Well, guess we know what we're doing at the pay-per-view." And he put DDP over, because he understood his position and his importance, and he understood what he could do for other people. And he's a very unselfish individual. Intensity, just everything about the Macho Man. I believe he's the blueprint for a wrestler to follow. Like, if you want to be the total package in terms of being a pro wrestler, being a sports entertainer, you can't have a better blueprint to follow than the Macho Man's.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah.
Well, with my number one, another legend in the business, Hall of Famer, somebody I grew up watching, and am so happy that I got to watch him more. But very unlike the Macho Man, he drew me in as a man of few words.
The man that didn't say much, didn't say a lot, didn't have a lot to speak about. You gotta eat. Well, I don't really know what's going on. Starting to feel a little trepidatious. Oh man, I know where this is going.
Of course, I'm talking about the vigilante, the icon, the franchise, the man called Sting. Really my first love when it comes to professional wrestling. One of the earliest memories I have is Starrcade 97, where vigilante Crow Sting faces Hollywood Hogan, and he's got the big entrance with the green laser light scorpion.
It was a very cool moment.
And it was just, it really drew me in because my stepbrother at the time, he watched WCW, he loved the NWO, and, and I'm sure I saw the former Sting.
Oh, yeah.
But he never really caught my eye.
Those happy guy types.
But then among all of these talkers, these personalities, these showmen, these, just over on themselves, just I'm the best because I'm the best and I want money and I got money. In comes this silent entity. And every time he showed up, they all stopped talking. And that was really the first time that I started really watching, because he was so different. And he commanded more respect than any of these loudmouth, muscle-bound, bright colors, sunglasses. No offense. And it was the next evolution. It was the next step in the business. And because the NWO had become so big and powerful and almost uncontrollable. Like they were just taking over. Even Bischoff was siding with them, and you know,
Eazy-E, as we call him.
And Sting had been gone for a couple weeks.
He'd been gone for a few months, before
Yeah.
he came back, and there was the question of, was he with the NWO, was he with WCW, whose side was he on? He would come out with just point the bat, not a word. For me, seeing that transition and seeing from, Surfer Sting and the happy guy tights, and he was so energetic. I mean, we see this in our War with Words, special that we do, and
which is, beyond me. When I first started getting back into wrestling, Sting was in TNA, but he still had the paint. It was a little different. He added some red and some green and different colors, but he was still my Sting.
Mm.
But then now I get to go back and see what he was before my first love, my Sting. And I'm even more blown away by this character that he became. I had no idea that he was this beach boy with Warrior and with Lex. And it makes Crow Sting, which sounds so cheap to say it like that, but makes Crow Sting that much more powerful, because it's almost as if he believed in the business so much that he knew he had to become something else.
He had to become
save it.
This mourning, vengeful specter of WCW. It's amazing to see that transformation, that change, because it was so different than what Sting was, because he was, all these little stingers out there,
yeah.
and he was real hyped, and woo!
Woo!
And so...
And then he was silent.
Yeah. Didn't speak for a year.
A whole year.
Didn't speak at all. Did not say anything.
His countenance, his hair, his bat, his vulture, everything did the speaking for him. In a time when we had the loudest mouths in wrestling, Sting came down in silence.
It was at the point where it was cool to be a bad guy. It wasn't cool to be colorful and over the top anymore. It was cool to be bad and just wear black and white, and Sting...
He was like, you want black and white? But, of course, as we've said before, evolutions in the business, everybody changes, and even the silent vigilante changed again. And you look like you need a little bit more color here for this next segment.
Okay.
I'm just gonna...
Wolfpack in his house! Woo!
Wolfpack, the NWO Wolfpack, the next big faction, and they got the man, Sting.
It was really cool because at that point, the NWO had really started to change from what it was. It started to become, a little stale, and they started to do the infighting with Nash and Hogan, and teasing more of like Nash saving Sting, and then of course that led to the heel turn for Sting, as he is a member of the NWO Wolfpack.
Oh. And that's pretty much when I stopped watching.
Aww.
Well, of course, as we all know, this is the eternal Sting.
Definitely. It's the most iconic, it's the most classic. The Wolfpack thing was just to try and do something different. How can we incorporate more people into the NWO? So.
Right. And it had its place, and it was great. And, what is he good at? Shaking things up. And that's how he did it again. Mm-hmm. And then after the fall of WCW, did he immediately go to TNA?
I don't think it was an immediate thing. I think it was a little bit, but maybe it was like a year, 2 years. It was not. I don't remember it being immediate. I remember it being a big deal.
Long story short, he never jumped the fence.
No.
He never went to WWF. He never went to WWE. But lo and behold, the reason, the 2015?
I believe.
14? Late 2014? I don't even remember. In the past couple years, after Stardust debuted, because that's when I started watching again. Suddenly, the stadium goes black. And there's a crow noise, and there's black and white Tron, and who walks through the curtains? It's Sting!
It's Sting!
It's Sting!
Sting is here!
Sting in the WWE! I can't even think of any other reason that I would have lived up until this point was to see that moment. That moment that became so many more. Like, I don't know what magic genie I set free in my life, but what a gift.
Yeah,
what a gift to see him come down that ramp, you know, because we had already, you know, we had gotten back into wrestling and watching the WWE, so I was already sold. They didn't need to do anything more for me, but he did it. He signed the contract, he jumped the fence. He got in the ring with Randy Orton. He had a feud with Seth Rollins, which was him, gonna push the statue into the garbage truck. It was fantastic.
His WrestleMania match with Triple H. You had the NWO, you had DX, you had every WCW's fanboy and girl's heart grow 10 times the size, and then immediately crushed as the NWO and Sting both got beaten by.
I was okay with
yeah, you know, to be honest, I was okay with it.
The fact that he was even there, and now they have the documentary
Into the Light.
Into the Light, yeah, out of the darkness, into the light. To where you actually get to hear his story and how much it meant to him, and it just makes it mean that much more to me and to the fans and to the universe, because he was just as much in awe as I was.
Yeah.
Because it's the biggest dance, it's the biggest stage, it's every wrestler's dream. I don't care who you wrestle for, everybody wants to be on that Mania stage once.
At least once.
He deserved it. And because, you know, when he first came out to challenge the Authority, I thought that was going to be it. I thought it was one and done, just, oh my god, you see that one time Sting showed up on Raw, now he's in the Hall of Fame, because that's all you need.
Pretty much. You just need the one shot, okay, he's been here, toss him in the hall.
But no, he stayed. He stayed, and he wrestled, and he put on more of a show for us, and me.
And me.
And this guy. But
nobody respects NWO Wolfpack Sting.
And it was just, it was great. And, getting choked up again. Hey, we warned you, like, past number 5.
It was gonna very possibly
it's
happen.
all waterworks. It's just gonna be running makeup. It's gonna be awful. But now I forgot what I was gonna say. There are so many moments that get taken away. Macho's Hall of Fame speech. You know, for various reasons, especially when you go back into the 80s and the 90s to wrestlers of days past.
You know, it's getting more and more difficult for us to get a lot of the moments that we always hoped that we would get and always hoped that we would see. And I think fortunately we were able to get that moment with Sting, watching him
even though
in a ring.
Because of injury, he's not coming back ever again. But I got to see him inducted in the Hall of Fame. I got to see him at Mania on my TV. I wasn't there, but I got to see my childhood hero, the first wrestler I ever gave any shits about. He came back, and he was just as good, and he wore the makeup and everything. And for all those little stingers out there, he came back, and I got to see it. And I got to see him honored as he should have been in the Hall of Fame. He gave a speech. He, of course, said the only thing that's certain about Sting is nothing is for certain. And he proved that.
Yeah. He's had one of the best careers in professional wrestling, from a guy who was just some young bodybuilder from California.
Sleeping in this Trans Am with some, I don't even know what Ultimate Warrior's real name is.
Jim.
Yeah, with some guy named Jim sleeping in their 85 Trans Am, making the cities.
It's amazing to see where Sting came from, what he became, how he was this franchise, this icon, and I'm pretty sure, you know, Vince McMahon in the 90s would have given up a lot of things to get Sting. I believe it was Ric Flair who said if Vince McMahon had Sting in the 80s, there would have never been Hulk Hogan. He would have never happened because it would have been Sting. Sting would have been the Hulk Hogan that we know. Instead of us talking about Hulk Hogan and just how closely he is known with wrestling, it would have been Sting. And I agree with Rick. I think he would have been beyond superstar. I mean,
right. Well, because, you know, as I learned later, he can talk. Mm-hmm. He is super charismatic. He was the other Ultimate Warrior, but you had more personality, and I love Warrior. He's very close to my heart, but Sting was everything that was good about Warrior and more.
Yeah, in many ways, I look at Sting, and hopefully I don't get too much heat for this, but I look at Sting and
no heat, we're crying here, come on.
He is what we have in John Cena now, and more of your classic surfer Sting, just because he's somebody that every kid can look up to, and he's this larger-than-life superhero. He can talk, he can wrestle, he is the franchise. That's what John Cena is now, and and John Cena even said himself, you know, I had a blonde flat top because of Sting.
Yeah, and there's so many wrestlers now, you know, having the same memories that I did. You know, they talk about their favorite icons and their favorite wrestlers, and there's so many that were influenced by Sting in all of his iterations. Even Cody talks about Sting.
Yeah, he's somebody that has set a legacy of greatness with everything that he did. So many iconic moments, from the, you know, coming out of the rafters, you know, just pointing the bat at the NWO, not speaking for a year. Before that, you know, just the amazing matches that he had with Ric Flair, you know, his teaming with Lex Luger, you know, his feud with Vader, you know, you look at so much of the man's career and it's just filled with excellence. Of course, the greatest moment, probably for any Sting fan, where RoboCop saved him. You know, he's been a part of so many great matches, you know, and Nitro, the final Nitro, closed out, I think, the best way and the only way it should have, with Ric Flair versus Sting in the main event. Like that.
What more could you ask for?
That's how it should be. He was the franchise. He was the face of WCW. He was the one guy that never left. He was the one guy that helped establish WCW as being viable, because he was young and he was everything that you needed to build a show around. And you know, we're seeing that now, and going through with War with Words, we're seeing just how powerful Sting is to the show and how important that he is.
And just his willingness to wrestle and his love of the business itself really just established him, because it's that deep-seated, he had a goal, and it was to wrestle and put on a good show. And that's really all you need.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think the only thing that we can say for sure about Sting
is nothing is for sure, except I love him. Shout his names to the rafters. Ah!
Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this long and ridiculous at some moments.
It's been so much fun. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, we've enjoyed doing it so much. Look forward to us doing many more top 10 lists in the future, but we figured the best way to start is you have to go with who you love the most when you're talking about professional wrestling. So we're we're happy you've come on this journey with us, and we're excited for you to come on our journeys in the future, because we've got some really cool ideas for top 10s in the future.
Yeah, nothing but fun.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, as always, please like, subscribe, share, and comment on the video. That's really been the best part, is seeing your feedback and seeing what you guys have enjoyed.
Because we know that universe is out there, just reaching out. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep up with our antics.
They're always out there, that's for sure. Well, as we always say here on Tandem Fandom,
if you're gonna be a fan,
bring a friend.